DudeCast.
Hi guys, welcome to the third episode of DudeCast. Today's topic is religion and spirituality. I'm your host, Charles.
I'm Gook.
I'm Sir Hazard.
And I'm Mitch.
Alright, the first question, guys, just so we've got a baseline of where we're all at, is what do you believe and why do you believe it? Me personally, I'm agnostic. I like to believe that there's something out there, but I haven't really found something that I've found believable yet. But, you know, I don't want the external crisis of there being nothing out there. So that's why I believe it.
Fair enough. I myself am atheist. I don't believe there is some sort of divine being or higher power similar to that out there. To me, the route of science is the most logical way through evolution and the Big Bang Theory.
I'm somewhere in the middle, I think. I'd like to believe that there is a godlike being out there. I believe that there is a alien out there that is far superior than humans. I don't know if it's quite God level. So I'm probably right below what Shells believes.
Yeah, and I'm basically the same as Harry. I'd class myself as an agnostic atheist. So I don't believe, but also don't know if we can ever know for sure whether something is there. So somewhere in the middle.
Alright. Well, now that we've all got our bearings, very diverse set of opinions here, guys.
We're all the same.
We got three agnostics and an atheist.
Yeah.
And an atheist agnostic.
Yeah. That's it. You got an agnostic atheist, an atheist agnostic, and an agnostic atheist.
Yeah. Well, guys, we all grew up in Catholic schools. At what age did you stop believing in the Catholic God?
Yeah, I do find that's interesting that we all grew up in Catholic schools and yet none of us believe in Christianity at all.
No.
For me personally, I probably would have been around grade 5 or 6. I was really only doing the religious stuff to keep my dad happy, and then I later found out my dad was only getting me to do the religious stuff to keep his dad happy. So
And your dad's dad was trying to do that.
No, my grandfather was a very firm believer in Catholicism.
Oh, okay.
Like, so much so, I believe he temporarily banned a family member because they had a kid out of wedlock.
Shit.
It reintroduced them later on, but
Just
it was very, very
excommunicated from the family kind of thing.
Yeah, very, very firm religious man. I guess for me, it just didn't make sense. You know, the Catholic religion is God's all loving, God's all knowing and all powerful, and that didn't square with what was happening in the world for me. So that's it.
That just makes me think of the God paradox. You know, if God is all powerful and can do anything, can he make an object that he himself cannot lift?
Are you asking us because we can't answer?
Exactly, that's why it's a paradox. There is no answer.
Yeah. Well, what age were you good when you stopped believing?
To be honest, I don't think I ever actually believed in the whole idea of a god. To me, it never really made sense.
Did
So
you
you
believe
didn't
in
think
Santa?
about it too much until you were old enough, and then you were just like,
I mean, I believed in Santa because, you know, as a child, there was quote-unquote evidence of Santa.
Alright, yeah.
Coke did his research when he was a kid.
I mean, I'm sure we all wrote letters to Santa as a kid. We all got presents under the tree that were from Santa.
Yeah.
Your carrot was half eaten every Christmas.
Yeah, my dad used to do that, a half-eaten carrot and cookies, and it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, why wouldn't they
milk.
eat the whole thing? Like,
They don't eat the whole thing because they've got to eat so many shells. Come on, everyone knows that.
Sorry. Well, at least Santa Claus real enough to have a major Coke deal, you know, Coca-Cola company.
Yeah.
Basically, you know. It's just,
You Santa? I'm assuming Santa is general. What's the word when anyone can use it?
copyright, general copyright. I have no idea. Liability. I don't know.
Yeah, public access, whatever. You know what I mean. I'm pretty sure anyone's
Yeah.
allowed to use the likeness, right? Like, if I was to make an animation, I couldn't get copyrighted because no one owns Santa's fucking. That's not like Mickey Mouse.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
I'm not sure. I really don't know.
You
I
can't.
know
What
that
about what age were you?
I'm much the same as Greek. I don't know if I ever actually believed it was more just something we had to do at school, like go through baptism and whatever it is, first communion, and I forgot what the rest are. But yeah, I just think it was something we had to do.
I never actually did communion.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah, I
heard
did them
those
all.
wafers tasted really bad.
Well, they were stale bread. Like
Yeah, they're not like.
crackers.
See, I don't know. I never participated in it.
I did like drinking the wine though, because like, ooh.
Yeah, I'm
drinking
thinking, oh my
wine.
god.
I remember once in school, this kid got in huge trouble for not eating the bread on the spot. He like took it back to his seat, and the priest like
Kept as a
roasted.
snack for later.
The priest actually lost his shit.
I remember
Oh,
like
God.
you put it on your tongue and you just see how long you can keep it there and make it get really small.
Yeah, because it just
That's
dissolved
dumb.
into
That was
like.
boring.
Yeah.
Church is fucking boring, so I don't blame you.
Yeah. Knew all the songs, had to sing all the songs. We
yeah.
we
all
went
those
every
hymns.
Wednesday in primary school. Did you guys go in primary school?
Like we went to church at school, but we didn't. I don't know
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Harry, but I didn't go to church outside of school. My parents
No,
didn't believe in it, so
We went Christmas and Easter,
Yeah.
and every Wednesday was school went to mass.
I
That
don't
was
know.
like the
my
first
school
subject.
didn't do like regular church things. It was kind of like once every few months when the priest was actually around. he just wasn't there a lot of the time. It was really weird.
What the hell was he doing?
Yeah, something like
You-
that.
Selling spiritual
Just
wine
walking
on the
around
side,
selling
side
holy
hustle.
water,
Yeah.
peddling his little cart on the side of the road. Get your holy water here.
Blessed freshly this morning.
Yeah. Technically, I don't know why they couldn't do that.
Yeah, well, it's very useful when you're fighting demons and supernatural. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
If you put holy water into a humidifier, it becomes a gas chamber for vampires.
Well, jeez. That's all right. That's something. Now, next question I want to talk about is, the history of religion and why it sort of came about. So, why, Goog, do you think ancient religions started, and how come they're not around anymore?
For a lot of them, I believe they brought religion around as a means of population control. If you think about a lot of the ancient religions, they were all very nasty things that would happen if you didn't follow the word the religion set out for you. Like the whole First Testament, brimstone and hellfire. If you didn't do what was laid out in these commandments, you were going to hell kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that
agree.
still
That's
not
actually a
true today?
massive thing.
Is that still not true today?
I feel like it's less true today. There are still some of those aspects there in modern day religions, but to a much lesser degree, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, like the one that gets me is, for me, it's all come about of a way to explain the unexplainable before we had ways to study it.
Technology and scientific advances and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah, so like it's go back to ancient Greek, you got, Zeus who throws lightning bolts. That would have been freaking scary when lightning bolts come out of the sky for no reason, and especially when it was followed by torrential rain, and your farm could get flooded, and then you've lost your livelihood. Earthquakes, rock slides, all this kind of stuff. Yeah,
Everything. Every natural disaster.
would be scary as hell. Like a disease, famine, crops not, growing up, and you don't know why that's happening. Turns out the soil's been poisoned or overworked or doesn't have the nutrition value it used to have. Like, For me, that's why it came about. It was a way to explain the unexplainable. What about you, Harry?
Yeah, I agree with Gook. I think any civilization, for it to actually thrive, it has to have something to keep the people in order, I suppose. And a lot of religions come with like these morals, usually, that keep people making good choices. So it actually, it's kind of like a unofficial rule book for morals in a way.
What about you, Mitch? What do you think? Pretty much the same, or?
I kind of agree with both takes. Like, I reckon there's some groups of people back then that just used it to explain what the fuck was going on. And then
like what the fuck's the sun?
Yeah, why the fuck is the earth shaking? Like, oh, God's mad. Like, and some people just wanted to use it to control and work towards a narrative of controlling people to do what they want them to do, what they think is right. But a lot of that was like anti-gay and a lot of the real shit stuff as well, not just good stuff. So
yeah. So a form of control.
Yeah.
Well, on that, I'll throw this one to Harry. Do you think you need to have religion for morals, or where do you think morals come about?
You definitely don't need to, but it's a good, I guess, starting point, because usually, like I said before, a lot of religions have good morals associated with them. You know, because you want to try and be a good person to get into the afterlife or whatever. I don't know that much about different religions apart from Catholic.
You just said, people should do, according to their religion, do good things to get into the afterlife. Does that mean they're only doing those things because of the promise of a good afterlife?
Well, yeah, pretty much. Like, in a way.
Can you argue that that is a good person then? If they're only doing it for a reward.
Doing them. I mean, there's the argument, if you do something nice for someone, you feel good about it as well. That doesn't mean you don't want to do the good thing. If you give someone...
You just agreed that they're only doing it because of the promise of a reward in the afterlife.
I'm sure that's a huge fucking, incentive. If someone actually believed in heaven, and you actually think that you're going to go to hell or heaven, then that's a pretty good incentive to be a good person. Even if you could argue they're not really a good person because they're only doing it for selfish reasons. Is that even selfish? Is being a good person so you can get into heaven selfish? I don't think so.
Well, it's kind of like an incentive for work, isn't it, though?
Yeah, exactly.
You do your job, you get paid for it, but, look, if you help out these homeless people, you'll feel good about it, and we'll also give you a free lunch.
Yeah, it's the same with those people that record them giving sandwiches and shit to homeless people. You can make the argument, they're only doing it for clout. But, as homeless men...
They're still doing it.
Yeah, homeless men...
That homeless guy gets a sandwich.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's still a good deed. I'd rather do that than not do the deed at all.
There's a Friends episode where Joey says to Phoebe, no good deed is... every good deed is selfish. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, do you feel good about it? Yeah. And then she tries to prove him wrong, but ends up feeling good about everything, and then it goes down a Friends loophole. But it goes
probably
finds a thumb in a drink, and anyway. But every good deed you could view as selfish. So it's the same as religion. They're selfishly trying to get into heaven or not.
Yeah, in a way.
Hell. But is that a bad thing if they're still doing good? There's an argument.
Either way, don't you? There's more good coming out of it from bad than...
Yeah.
I don't think it's strictly a bad thing, but it kind of feels wrong that some people need an incentive to not be a shit cunt.
Yeah.
To put it in basic terms, I guess.
Well, everyone's got an incentive though, Gook, even if you don't believe in God. We don't rob places, we don't do all these bad things because then we get in trouble and that would affect our life. Obviously, we wouldn't do it, you'd hope to, because you don't want to fucking, steal from people and hurt people. But at the same time, you don't do those things because you're like, oh, fuck, I'll get arrested. So you want to be a good citizen. You want to stay within the law because you don't want to fuck yourself over. Even just being a good person in general, even if you don't believe in religion, there's still incentive in it for you.
Well, I got a question for you guys. because so many religions have some form of the Ten Commandments and they're all very similar, is the reason that they're so similar is because morals are innate in human nature, or is it because it's something that we've been taught? Like as you grow up as a person, do you naturally develop morals, or do you need to be taught those morals?
Taught, in my opinion. More so taught. You might naturally develop some, but you're taught good morals, in my experiences with all sorts of people in life. Like, some have terrible morals, not so great upbringings.
And get
Some
taught.
have very good morals with very good upbringings. So
You have a very unique perspective compared to the rest of us, Mitchell, because you work with some of the worst people in society. Well, literally, they're not in society anymore.
They were not in allowed to be.
Yeah. So you'd have a unique perspective on that compared to us.
In my opinion, it's taught, but that doesn't mean it's right. But in my experiences, it's more so taught than learnt, just naturally. But it can very well be both, or I could very much be wrong. But
I don't know. I think people are taught how to act, but they're not taught moral. I think people know, even bad people, even if they're raised in a bad family, that stealing is still wrong. If that makes sense, like, it's human, even if you're not taught it, to know what good and bad is. Even if your parents are complete pieces of shit and you grow up to be, a complete piece of shit because of your upbringing, you still know what right and wrong is.
Yeah,
even if no one taught you, just know.
Yeah, but society's taught you what right and wrong is. You know you'll get in trouble for it, so you know it's right and wrong.
But even without that, even if you steal and you know you're not going to get caught, you know it's wrong. Like, you don't have to teach someone that.
The fact that you know you could get caught teaches you that it's wrong, because you know if it wasn't wrong, you wouldn't get caught for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Like, if it wasn't against the law, would you do it? Or would you not do it?
Yeah, let's say if it wasn't against the law, if we're cavemen, I feel like
back then,
even a cave,
all sorts of time.
When there was no laws, do you think cavemen?
Back then, it was legitimately survival of the strongest.
Yeah, exactly.
Too far back.
I think everyone has morals until they get desperate enough that those morals don't come into place. I think lots of people know it's not right to steal, but if I was starving, I'm going to steal. I know that for a fact. Like,
yeah, of course.
I'm not going to be like, my morals are so strong that I'd rather die than steal some food. Like, I think almost everyone's like that. Look, maybe there's some extremists who wouldn't do that, but I think they would be in the small minority.
Humans will naturally do what they need to do to survive.
Yeah.
That's a survival instinct, regardless of if it's against the law or not. They need to do what they can to survive.
Yeah. What do you think, Duke?
I think it's a bit of both. We do naturally learn some ethics and morals as we age, and we just piece together those bits and pieces ourselves, and a fair few of them, we probably are taught. But the one thing you mentioned earlier was that all of these different religions all seem to have, very similar commandments. So that, to me, says you get enough people in a certain group, they're going to start acting that way naturally. They're going to develop those morals, because it's happened, several times in varied parts of the world, and all seem to end up at the same conclusion.
Yeah, so just on that, I actually did a bit of research on this. And one of the interesting theories, no by means proven, but one of the interesting theories that's come up on this is it's an evolutionary trait. So packs that had morals and looked after each other had a higher chance of survival because they weren't kicked out of the pack and left by themselves. So the people who developed morals through an evolutionary standpoint had a higher chance of survival than those who didn't. So that's just an interesting theory I came across.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I said before. Like, for society to thrive, I feel like you need to have some kind of... That's why religion, I guess, became a huge thing.
There you go, Harry. You're as smart as me doing some research. There you go.
But at the end of the day, everyone should be allowed to believe in whatever they want, as long as they're not hurting anyone. You know, if you believe in fucking Amber Turd's poop, or if you believe in the Catholic, it doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter if you believe in the spaghetti monster, as long as you're taking the morals from that and being a good person.
Yeah.
Then who fucking cares?
Well, just on that, and I think we briefly touched on this topic before, do you find it interesting that how religion controls people can make moral people do immoral things? You got classic examples in the past of just with Christianity, the Crusades, the sacking of Constantinople, the forced conversion of South Americans to Christianity, even more recently, persecution of gay and trans people. What do you guys think on that?
That's the dark side of religion, and it makes people who are skeptical or non-believers not want to believe in it, because if it's true, then why are they so anti-human race? Like,
I mean, yeah, Charles mentioned this, but like the old Christian way was either you believe what we believe, or we'll put you to the sword. That's basically what the whole Crusades were.
That's pretty fucked.
Yeah, it's a terrible way to do things, in my opinion, personally. But yeah, you can't really argue its effectiveness at the same time, though, because that helped the spread of Christianity massively.
Do you think that's because people at the higher end of the religion believed in the religion so much that they were willing to do bad things, or do you think it was them manipulating their following?
I think it was them looking for more power.
Yeah, manipulating. It's the same these days with politicians these days. They'll use religion as an advantage to persuade voters. Like they'll use religion to persuade certain voters, like with same-sex marriage or with opposition to abortion, even if they don't really care about those things.
Yeah, well, literally in America, I don't think they've had, I could be wrong, but I don't think they've had a president who's not been a practicing Christian.
Well, there you go.
Like, I could be wrong, but I don't recall, at least in recent times, of there being a non-religious president. Non-Christian.
Just because they have to be, in a way.
Yeah, they have to pander to the Christian audience because that's a huge whack of votes right there.
Yeah, exactly, see? So, bang.
Yeah, Christianity does seem to be a huge part of, like, American culture in general.
Well, it's just the biggest religion in the world. Like, with that many people comes a lot of power. Like, the recent Roe v. Wade, do you guys know what's happened there?
No.
So, Roe v. Wade was a ruling that the high courts did years ago in America that allowed women to have abortion, the freedom to have abortion. It was a protected constitutional right that they were able to get abortions.
It just got stopped recently in America, didn't it?
That was recently overturned, so now states can make rulings that women can't get abortions. So Texas, for example, could say, no, you can't get an abortion in Texas.
Yeah, that's fucked.
And so they have to fly out of state to get an abortion, or they have to raise a kid when they may not be financially stable, mentally stable, all of this.
Or they got raped.
Incest, rape. Like, that's pretty messed up. That a religion.
Yeah, it's extremely messed up.
Like, and that's all pushed forward through, I think, just Catholicism. I think that's the biggest voice.
Damn.
And
there's 13 American states that have it completely illegal for abortion. 13 out of 50.
Did you look it up,
completely illegal. Yep.
That's crazy. Was it 50 states in America?
50 states, 13 have it completely legal. There's others that have it partially illegal, but yeah, 13 completely
Damn.
illegal.
What's that? That's about a quarter, isn't it? Jeez, it's a bit over a quarter.
It's bad.
That's 25% of America can't get an abortion if you look at it.
Well, I guess by the sound of it, we're all pro-abortion then.
Well, I'm pro, like, I'm not pro-abortion, I'm pro-choice. I'm not like, let's go have abortions, yeah.
Well, pro-choice, like, the choice to have an abortion, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not like, everyone should get an abortion. Yeah, just like, I'm not pro-abortion, I'm pro-choice. Because I'm not saying every woman should get an abortion, even if they want to have a kid, you know.
Yeah, fair.
That was just being pedantic, though.
What do you think about religion and the impact of mental health and well-being with religion? Like, obviously, some people find comfort in religion.
Yeah, so I think it's a good way for people to find purpose. You know, a lot of people find purpose in their jobs, relationships. I think religion's not to discredit it, but an easy way to find purpose. Because as long as you are a good Christian or a good Muslim or whatever, you've kind of found your purpose of living through your religion.
But what does that purpose equate to? Like, is your purpose then just pray to the man in the sky?
I think it's
your purpose?
I think it's a sense of self-worth. Like, I think a lot of people struggle with self-worth and a sense of purpose. I think it's something that humans have always struggled with, which is why the meaning of life is such a common question to come up, because we struggled of why we are here on this earth, and religion helps to explain that. And for some people, that's enough. But I don't know. Does anyone else have any points on that?
I mean, me myself personally, I'm of the belief that there is no purpose. No one is here for anything, and this might, not to discredit people who do find their purpose in religion, but it doesn't make sense to me. Like, we're not here for any purpose, and people are just using religion as a sort of crutch to kind of to help deal with the fact that there is no purpose. They can't cope with the idea that they're not here on this earth for a reason.
But is that not helpful then? If it helps those people get through life and be good in their life, is it not a good thing that they have that crutch? You know, if you've got a busted leg, you need a crutch.
I mean, like I said, I'm not saying this to discredit the people who do find, you know, help in religion that way. It's just, to me personally, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I can respect that.
Yeah, well, some people think that there's even science in religion, where because the world is so complex, that's evidence of a higher power in itself.
Yeah, well, they talk about the God particle, but I don't know if that's a real thing or if that's just like a scientific joke. But that's
I don't know. I haven't heard about that. But it goes back to what we were saying at the start. That's why I think me, you, and Mitch believe that there is a higher power to some sort, all in different levels, but the same idea. Because of how complex the world is.
Yeah.
It feels almost like impossible for there not to be something out there that's gnarly as fuck.
Yeah, to me, that's just people going, we can't accept that what we consider our existence and what everything we know is just a very unlikely string of events that has happened to lead us here. But to them, that doesn't make sense. There needs to be someone orchestrating it instead of just that random chance.
I don't know if it's orchestrating it. I don't believe there's someone. I don't know if it's orchestrating it is the right way to put it. I just believe that the chances that humans are the center of the universe when it comes to power or when it comes to intelligence or whatever the fuck you want to say, I just feel like that's very unlikely.
Oh, statistically,
and because look at our technology. Like, what did you say before? Technology, magic. You know, really good technology.
Advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah, exactly. So who's to say there isn't a civilization out there that's a million years ahead of us?
There very
whose
much
technology
could be,
is like magic.
A divine being.
No, but to us, I mean, you could almost argue that it is, because if they can do stuff that we couldn't even begin to fathom, are they not almost God? That's why I said I don't believe in godlike beings, but they almost are. I mean, us compared to like fucking ants, you know. Then again, ants are smart motherfuckers.
Well, I do find it incredible that the Earth does exist. Like, even though statistically it's likely that eventually some form of life would be born from the Big Bang, the fact that almost all of it that we know about is concentrated on such a small percentage of the galaxy, like all of life on one tiny speck, is pretty amazing, regardless of whether it was created by a supernatural power, which I don't believe. But that is pretty amazing that the Earth does exist, and that we can.
Yeah, it's amazing in itself.
Yeah,
it's incredible in itself.
Yeah, it's sometimes religion can be a bit limiting in that they pretend to have all the answers and stop people from finding what the actual answers are. And I don't know, I'm amazed by science. I don't know how you could not be amazed by science.
Yeah, fuck yeah. You know what I just thought as well, in a way, since we really don't have any idea about the universe as a whole, really even us being agnostic, in a way is a belief. You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's our own belief. Just like Catholics believe in God, we're believing that there's something else out there.
Yeah, well, that's literally what agnostic is. Agnostic is none of the theologies that's out there makes sense to me, but I still feel like there's something out there.
Yeah.
And atheist is, I don't believe in any God. I actually don't know what the difference is. They're basically the same thing.
My understanding of atheism, which is why I follow it, is the idea of theologies, religions as a whole is not correct. We might not be alone in the universe. There might be other civilizations out there, more advanced, less advanced, it doesn't matter. But we don't believe in divine beings or that whole aspect of it.
So why don't you believe in divine beings? You just think there's just...
Because it
never
makes sense to me. Like,
well, like
going back to the God paradox, according to Christian religion, their God is omnipotent and omniscient. Can he
that's
make an object that can't lift?
He needs to be nerfed. I've been saying this for years.
Nerf God.
Yeah, I actually have.
It's just too OP. Yeah.
If that's not a t-shirt, that needs to be a fucking t-shirt.
Put it on a bumper sticker.
But let's say, Goog, alright, maybe that is fucking overpowered, but what about who's to say there couldn't be a godlike being out there who isn't paradox in, fucking making OP? Just someone who's so powerful who could create life,
Define
but is still not, Alright, let's say a being that can, breathe in space, levitate, create life with its hands. Fucking...
Well, okay, creating life with its hands, then...
Beat all the fucking ghosts on
divinity.
Crash Team Racing. Something, incredible like that.
Beat who? Crash Team Racing? Ripperoos.
All the Oxide ghosts.
Oh, yeah.
And all of the other ghosts, they're fucking hard as shit.
Does that mean you're a demigod because you almost did it?
Mitch beat all the Oxide ghosts, I'm pretty sure.
So Mitch is a god.
But it took a long time, though.
Oh, I fucking bet it did.
It's not easy to be God, mate.
Yeah, true.
So what about that girl, Goog? Do you believe, I don't know if you replied and but do you believe there might be a being like that?
No, I don't. Not with if there was a being like that with those abilities, I'm sure there would be a scientific reason that could answer why that is a thing.
Yeah.
Without that scientific, experiment or explanation, I simply don't believe it.
So I guess the point is, Goog, for you, it's not a god if science can eventually create it or understand it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it. If it can be explained, therefore it cannot be a god.
All right. So you guys obviously all went to Catholic schools, so you know that humans were created in God's image in the religion.
Sure, yep.
Yeah.
Heard something similar to those lines.
So does that mean theoretically in Christianity a human could become God?
Yes.
No.
I don't
Why?
know. I mean,
Why? We're created in his image. Why can't we become him if we're his reflection?
Because a reflection isn't the actual thing.
Okay.
If you're
Become
looking at a
godlike.
reflection, it is just an image of that. It isn't that thing.
What if it could we become godlike? Not the exact same, but
Define godlike then.
like a god.
How so?
Well, I don't know
No
what you
human
say.
is going to suddenly gain magical abilities to fly or change the weather. That's not going to happen.
You've ever heard of mutants, Gook? All right, Jesus.
What if it did happen?
Well,
Then
it's
I'm
not.
sure there would be a scientific explanation for it.
All right, let's
Knew that
move
was
on.
coming.
I agree with Duke though. Just because, I think just because there's a scientific reason to explain something, that doesn't mean there couldn't be. I think we have a different interpretation of godlike being. For me, godlike being is just a being that is super powerful, even if it can be explained by science.
So, would Superman be a god in your
Yes.
interpretation? Okay. What about Captain America?
No,
Okay. Interesting.
he would be a daddy.
Cap Daddy. Daddy Cap.
You gotta clip
Jesus
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
All right. I'll get you guys to have a guess in the order that we introduced ourselves. What percentage of Australians do not follow a religion as of 2021, Cook?
I would say somewhere around the 60% mark.
Don't
I'll
believe
say 61.
I'll go 70.
You should have said 59.
it. You guys are way off. So,
Really?
38.9% of people don't believe in a religion. That includes people who believe in some form of spirituality as well, but is not an established religion. So that's only 38.9% don't believe.
Fuck, so we're outnumbered.
Yeah, well, yeah. And interesting enough, in 1971 in Australia, the amount of people who didn't believe in a religion was only 6.7%.
So the longer that has gone on, the less and less people are believing in religions.
That's
the more,
correct.
The more technology and science advances, the more people are jumping off the bandwagon.
Yeah, it's almost a straight line. There's almost no dips. There's a couple of dips here and there, but
Yeah.
overall, as science has improved and time's gone on,
Belief is diminished. Yeah.
yeah, belief in a theist god has diminished.
Is that everything for religion? Should we move on to spirituality, or does anyone want to talk about
Just
the
got
priest?
one more statistic to point out. So
Okay.
in America, they're actually more religious than Australia. Only 29% of people don't believe in a religion in America. It's interesting that's two Western civilizations can have such a big gap. It's a gap of 10%.
Yeah, it is a
Probably
decent
high
sized
population,
gap.
it's a lot of people.
I feel like that is due to religion being very highly ingrained into American culture. Like you
Well,
watch
you got the
a lot
Catholic
of
belt
things.
there, don't you?
Yeah,
Christian belt, don't they have that as another thing?
It's very culty in America as well.
yeah. Like you watch
think- Yeah.
American shows and stuff, and the ideal family is
Mum,
you know,
dad,
you've
3
got-
kids, Catholic or whatever.
white picket
Flanders.
fence. You go to church every Sunday, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they were hugely separation of church and state, and yet they're probably one of the most religious Western civilizations in terms of how much it influenced their politics and their people.
I mean, their president's sworn in on the Bible, aren't they?
Well, they're sworn in on anything they want to swear in. They can swear in on the Bible, on the law book, or the Quran, or anything. But as I was saying before, I think only a Christian has president.
I read it said majority Christian. There's been 2 Catholics Catholic Christians, Joe Biden being the second one. But yeah, it said like 90-something%.
Or
Catholic.
Protestant Christian.
Yeah, Christian, that's the one, yeah. 90-something%
Yeah.
Christian, with 2 of those only being Catholic as well.
All right, I got one more question on Christianity. Then we'll not Christianity, religion. Then we'll move on. So, a question I'll throw to the group: do you think religious people are more generous than non-religious people?
In what sense?
Donating money to charities, specifically donating money to charities and volunteering.
Their whole church thing is donate to they take around a little jar, don't they? Or hat or whatever they do it.
Yeah,
Isn't that for donations to the church itself?
That's donations to the church. I'm more talking donations to charities, specifically.
I reckon in terms of population donating, probably more so religious people, but I wouldn't necessarily say the amount donated, because I know there's a lot of rich people.
Yeah, and I'm just sort of after just a percentage, what you think. Do you think a higher percentage of religious people do it, or a higher percentage of non-religious, or do you think it's sort of the same, or?
I'd say more religious people, probably 60-40, something around there.
Yep. What do you reckon, Harry? Religious people more generous than average Joe?
Yeah, I'd say 60-40 as well.
Yep. What about you, Dude?
I'm actually on the side of, I think it's a pretty even 50-50 split.
Yeah, you're pretty much spot on, Gook. So, religious people, about 86% of religious people donate money, and about 70% of religious people donate their time to some sort of charity or cause. And with atheists and agnostics, it's 82-51. So the money's about the same, but volunteering time's a fair bit different. Less likely to volunteer time. But I wonder if that's more of a community thing than anything else.
Very possibly could be, the time being a community factor.
Yeah. And interesting enough, the more, pretty obvious, but more money you have, the more likely you are to donate your time and your money.
More money you have, the more time you generally have.
Yeah, you don't have to work all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
All right, so move on to spirituality. One question that came to mind is meditation spiritual, or is it just a sense of calming mind and collecting thoughts?
Personally, I'm in the party that believes the latter. I don't equate meditation with spirituality. It is just a method of, calming yourself, organizing your thoughts, and then moving on.
Yep.
Well, meditation is backed up by science. It is a real thing that actually works, when usually spirituality, a lot of it falls into like that belief category, like with star signs and stuff. But I think it's kind of both, even though it's definitely backed up by science. It still falls under spirituality because it seems that a lot of people who are really into spirituality seem to meditate. Maybe that's because it's...
Maybe it's just a cultural thing.
Do you think it's gained the title of, being spiritual via association?
Yeah, it sounds like that. Even though it's a real thing, like it's 100% real thing, it's not just like, it's not just like a belief. Like meditation actually fucking has heaps of things, like helps you manage stress, increase self-awareness, focus on the present, reducing negative emotions.
Yeah, I mean, it has proven benefits to it.
Yeah, proven benefits, exactly. But for some reason, it just feels like it's a very spiritual thing still. I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way.
I got a question for you, just that sprung up, just out of random thoughts
Random
got
thought
from my head.
bubble.
Yeah. I know it won't be as effective, but do you think going to the confessional with the priest and talking about what you did and talking it through has some benefit, or not the same, although not the same benefit as going to a psychologist? Or
Well, definitely has some benefit in terms of like talking through your problems, talking through what you've done, actually being able to communicate it rather than bottle it up. But it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't have the benefit it's intended of, which is like to ask for forgiveness of God, because obviously I don't believe in that. But
it probably just has a more short-term effect, doesn't it, of relieving you of your guilt?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, to me, one versus the other, going to confession or seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist is simply getting it off your chest and acknowledging it, whereas the other one is discovering the reasons why and working on management strategies and all that kind of stuff to prevent more of the kind of the same.
Yeah, well, the priest isn't fucking trained either. So
No.
there's a reason people go to those things. Like, you can just talk to anyone. You actually pay to see a professional who's studied to actually know how to,
Do you think there's a benefit to going to the confession booth though, Harry?
I mean, if you have no one else to talk to, sure.
Yeah. It's sort of like just
we were saying more get it off your chest sort of thing rather than work through your issues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, talking is therapeutic, but I wouldn't go there for fucking like serious issues. Like, if you got molested or something, you should probably go to a fucking psychologist. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's my 2
Church
cents.
is probably the last place you'd want to go for that.
Oh my god.
Done. Let me help you out with that.
Remember how we were talking about cancel culture last week?
Add me on that. Let's do it.
Mitch is getting cancelled.
That's seriously fucked up, though. What do you think about that before we move on? Because there's been a lot of cases in the Catholic Church of priests molesting people.
Yep.
I don't get. There's one excuse you can make is that they're not allowed to have sex. But it's like, if you're gonna fucking molest people, you might as well just fucking have sex.
Like, sex is a human thing. It's something that you crave naturally. It's not going to go away. And I think, you have to have a mental disease to touch a child. But I think sort of the repression of sexuality can lead to that a little bit.
As well as they have more opportunity to do it as well. They're always around. Not saying it's an excuse by any means, but they're sexually deprived and they're always around it. So it's
some pedophiles would actually get into the church, though. There's some pedophiles that just get into certain jobs just for the intent to molest
kids. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. It's sort of it's a perfect pot. Perfect storm, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
For the reason there's been a lot of scoutmasters too who have molested kids.
Yeah. I guess it's a form of power and trust.
Yeah,
built up. And
pedophiles fucking, are just that fucked up, I guess.
But at the same time, it is, incredibly hard to screen against that kind of thing, because, you're going to ask someone, are you a pedophile? They're not going to say yes to you.
Yeah, true. Are you a pedophile? Yes, done.
Sorry, I can't have you as a scoutmaster then, on your way.
I mean, no. Sure, yeah.
You should check the history, though. That's like the minimum. All right, I got a question for you guys to do with spirituality and religion. Some of the greatest artworks, paintings, some could even argue video games, have been inspired by religion. Do you think if religion wasn't a thing, we would still have as great of art, songs, etc.?
Probably would have gone in a different direction in terms of, obviously, because if it didn't exist, you can't go in that direction. But do you think it would still exist, or do you think it's purely the inspiration? Maybe certain genres of games and music wouldn't have gotten as big, and others would have gotten bigger than they got in those times.
RPGs, for example, would have suffered a lot in that instance, because a lot of RPGs have a theology in them.
Yeah.
and that is normally plays a large part in the story. Think of the new God of War games, for example, and their take on Norse mythology. Without that having existed, there would be no God of War at all.
Yeah.
It's a hard fucking question, man, because you're asking us to answer in an alternate reality where the fuck art would be in today's
It's
age.
an opinion, though. It's not that
I'm
hard
not
to
saying
answer,
it's a state fact.
Because it literally could be anywhere without religion. Art could be anywhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well...
Harry,
yeah.
can you please move closer to your mic?
There you go, sir.
Yeah. I do think it's an interesting question. I do think that past religions and current religions are great stories. You know, obviously some people believe in them, but I think overall it's good storytelling. A lot of people have done some really creative stuff with those stories. But I think if religion wasn't around, there would just be other stories.
Well, at the end of the day, religion, for us who don't believe in it, is just stories.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there would just be other stories.
I feel like the quality of the works would be the same, just very vastly different subject matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we can all agree with that. All right, I've got one last question to sort of wrap this all up, guys. If you were the head of the Roman Catholic Church, aka the Pope, what would you change?
Fuck, that is a good question. Come back to me.
That is a very tough question. I don't even know what he does in terms of like what's...
Well, just say you have monopoly over changing Christianity any way you want to. What would you change?
Changing Christianity any way I want to. That's a lot of power.
Yeah. Or just one thing that you would change.
That was a really good question. I would definitely use the money of the church to help a lot more people. But to be honest, I don't really know what they do. I know that they have a lot of money.
They have a ridiculous amount of money
Yeah.
that they don't
and they
need.
don't pay taxes on it. It's...
No.
I feel like, yeah, it would help a lot more
They have
homeless people.
billions of dollars.
I
They're
feel,
one
Yeah.
of the richest organisations in the
I
world.
feel like distributing the wealth of the Catholic Church would probably be the first thing I did.
Yeah,
it's
and I'd
kinda
also
like,
make
that's
it
what you preach.
legal well, not legal. I mean, it's not like they get arrested, but I'd also say that priests are allowed to fuck chicks as well. Or dudes, whatever floats their boat.
Yeah.
It's probably not the first thing I'd change, but yeah.
Yeah, well,
Look, I think if it was me, I'd get rid of the discrimination and the forced conversion.
Yeah.
That just seems
fair.
pretty fucked up for what they preach. You know, love thy neighbour, but if you're gay, then fuck you.
Don't love thy neighbour.
And
I'd
God's
also
all
change Jesus to
God's all
Jeebus.
about
Like, you have to
forgiveness.
call it Jeebus.
all
Yeah,
about forgiveness, but if you do something wrong, you'll go to hell. Like,
Yeah.
unless you're a priest touching a little child.
yeah,
Then
like
you're fine.
if you
You just have to say Hail Mary 3 times in a row.
That's all, only 3 times.
Yeah. I don't know what it actually was. They probably received no punishment. All right. Anyone got anything else to say, or we're good to wrap this up?
Gook, you didn't answer. Oh, you don't. You did. You say you distribute the wealth.
Yeah, just straight up distribute the wealth of the Catholic Church. Because that would solve, quite a few of the problems we...
I would make the letter T
society
illegal
face.
because it's too much of a throwback to the cross, which Jesus died on, our Lord and Savior. I'd make T illegal. Like,
Tea
not,
illegal.
Tea illegal.
yeah.
So
I'd make the
no one
letter
can
T
see it.
illegal.
From this day forth, no one can write using the letter T.
Yeah,
It
or
all has
say
to
the
be
letter T.
J's. All T's are now J's. They're just replaced. Little.
Yeah, I was going to make a whole new letter for T, but that's better.
Jesus as a person was confirmed real, right?
I think they
I believe.
think
There
there
are-
was a person
There
called
are
Jesus.
supposedly records of a person named Jesus
If
of
he's
Nazareth
from where,
existing.
yeah, that's what I mean. Not doing everything that he necessarily was said to have done, but if he's from where they reckon he's from, why does he look like us?
Because the
That's
Roman
maybe what I'd
Catholic
change. back
Roman-
to what it
Roman
actually
took-
looked like.
It's because Rome took over, and they wanted to look like him.
Yeah. But
That's literally.
that's one of the things I'd change. There's my answer for that.
Alright.
Look
Well, there you go.
like he actually would have looked.
Yeah. Alright, well, I think that was a very good podcast, guys. Thanks for joining us, and Goog, what's the topic for next week?
Next
so
fortnight.
for next podcast, topic's going to be different forms of entertainment and how they've evolved, plus the stigma that the enjoyers of those types of entertainment face from society.
Alright. Sounds interesting.
Oh, cool. Oh, that sounds
Let's
cool.
have
Yeah, I
one,
like.
then. It's good to have a
Yeah,
softball
I like
one
Like the
Oh.
topic.
I think we've done enough hard-hitting subjects for this.
forever.
Yeah.
Time to start talking about absolute bullshit on these podcasts.
I think
Yeah.
that's what we do anyway, but
Yeah. Sorry, guys. If you guys, whoever's listening, heard 1,000 fucking cars in the background. I'm not sure if the mic picked that up or not, but we will try and record these in person eventually, so the quality of the podcast will be going up. We're new to this. Just give us time.
see you guys.
So yeah.
Bye.